As we prepare to observe Memorial Day, we continue to honor the efforts of the men and women of our armed forces. Let's go back to World War II in 1945. The USS Indianapolis returning from a top secret mission when the ship was attacked, sending the 1,200 crew members into shark-infested waters for 5 nights. Now, our next guest not only survived that event, but also has written a book detailing that historical yet harrowing voyage titled Out of the Depths, an unforgettable World War II story of survival, courage, and the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. Joining us now here on Newsmax TV, Edgar Harrell, one of only 300 survivors of that disaster. Mr. Harrell, it is an honor to have you here on America's Forum today.
Well, thank you so kindly. It's indeed an honor on my part to be on your program, sir.
Well, sir, you, when I think about what you went through, when I had a chance to read some of this book, it is a story that is beyond belief. What transpired? You were a Marine on that ship. Give us, and I know we can't do it justice, but give us a brief account of what you experienced with the sinking of the USS Indianapolis.
Okay, on July the 30th, 1945, we had just delivered the components of Fat Man and Little Boy, the 2 atomic bombs that a few days later, August the 6th and 9th, would be dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. We are going on from Guam to the Philippines unescorted. We encounter a Jap sub, Commander Hoshimoto, waiting at the crossroads. He fires a spread of 6 torpedoes, hits us with 2. The ship goes down in about 12 minutes. There were 1,196 plus 1 passenger aboard. We surmise that maybe 900 of us got in the water, that is, got off the ship. But some 300 did not even make it off the ship because the first torpedo cut the bow of the ship off, and we become a funnel, and all the water then is pushing in from the bow, and it just flooded the first 100 yards of the ship. And we are struggling then from moment one. I'll pause for you, sir.
Well, I hear this, and so you folks were just adrift there at sea for like 5 days, and suddenly the sharks appear. This is a gripping account. In fact, Morgan, you have a little bit more on what has happened with the sharks. Mr. Harrell, our friend Morgan Thompson with a point to make.
Hi, it's an honor to meet you. The story of the USS Indianapolis has been highlighted in Hollywood for years, but one particular scene from the movie Jaws seemed to be among the most memorable. Let's listen in on Mr. Quint telling others about his journey on the ship, and let's get a reaction. Take a listen.
Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. He was coming back from the island of Tinian to Leyte, just delivered the bomb, the Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. The vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Tiger, 13-footer. You know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail. What we didn't know was our bomb mission had been so secret, no distress signal had been sent. So 1,100 men went in the water. 316 men come out. The sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb.
So, Edgar, did Mr. Quint deliver the story correctly?
Come again.
Did he deliver the story correctly? Is that how it went down?
I don't understand your question.
It may be a little bit lost in translation.
Sorry.
Because we realize we have you on the telephone, Mr. Harrell. Let me rephrase the question. We just showed a scene from the motion picture Jaws that had the late Robert Shaw. Yes, sir?
I was hearing that, and I thank you for that. And I might just say the only difference, and I I appreciate that story so much. The only difference, he was not there. I was, and he is being pretty factual as to really what was taking place out there. But my story has to do with my experience those 4.5 days. Yes, swimming in shark-infested waters, seeing boys gored, seeing boys disemboweled or the bottom torso gone, and seeing boys drink salt water and go completely crazy and they become your enemies, and see the fact that boys would, yes, drink the salt water by straining it through maybe some of their clothing, and yet in spite of that, others that would not succumb to that, you see that they now are suffering from dehydration, no water, and the body is fast disappearing. Okay.
My goodness.
Mr. Harrell, I want to say what an honor it is to meet a true American war hero, and especially with Memorial Day approaching. What would you like the public to believe, and what would you like them to keep in mind on this Memorial Day?
Oh, I'd like to remind them that we still have boys that are in harm's way today, and if we expect to ever have freedom restored to America again, we're going to have to realize that freedom costs, and we need to pay more respect to our servicemen that are serving our country today. Our government needs to realize that we are gradually losing our freedom, and if freedom is worth fighting for, we're going to have to turn the corner and realize that if America is to exist as a God-honoring, freedom-honoring, loving nation, we're going to have to get back to God. This rapid moral freefall in America, consequences has to happen soon.
We can certainly appreciate those comments, sir. And I wanted to talk about something specific here in the book that we can't really let get away before we end the interview, and that was about your captain, Charles McVeigh. A lot of people who aren't familiar with this story don't remember the fact that he was kind of a scapegoat for what happened and was court-martialed here. But I know you worked very hard to clear his name and tell the true story of what happened. But tell us a little bit about Charles McVeigh and what the crew members and the survivors did to make sure that his name was not dragged through the mud in history.
Okay, Captain McVeigh, I thought the world of Captain McVeigh. I was his orderly many, many times, and he was a wonderful human being, but the Navy so lied and covered up and needed a scapegoat, and they had to put the blame on a good captain, one of 700 that had lost a ship during the war, and they needed a scapegoat, and so he really never had a fair trial, and they caused an early death on his part, and that in 1968 he committed suicide. But it's a total miscarriage of justice, and we tried to get him exonerated. No one would listen in Washington, and even after they saw that we had sufficient evidence, they still did not want to listen to us. But finally, with the help of a little boy that saw Jaws, little Hunter Scott, little 13-year-old boy, by the time he's 18, he comes to all of our reunions, and he began to delve into the timeline and so on. And then after 95, 50 years later, we go before the Armed Services Committee. We have enough evidence to prove that the Navy ignored SOSs. They did not turn us over from Sinpak in Guam to the Philippine frontier when we were halfway there, and the Philippine frontier didn't receive us, and the berthing place for us when we got there, we didn't show, and they marked us off of the chart. And so much mud on the face of the Navy It's sad to say, but
yeah, truly, sir,
we
a clear miscarriage of justice in his case, and eventually, Captain McVeigh was awarded a special medal, Presidential Citation Medal. So there was some justice, but too late, unfortunately, for him. But great for what you guys and the survivors did there for Charles McVeigh, Captain Charles McVeigh, to clear his name.
And should also point out my old colleague Joe Scarborough, now at MSNBC, worked with Edgar Harrell and the young man, Hunter Scott, to get this changed. Edgar Harrell, again, sir, as we're about to observe Memorial Day, we want to thank you. We want to remind people the name of the book is Out of the Depths, an unforgettable World War II story of survival, courage, and the sinking of the USS Indianapolis. And Mr. Harrell, as you pointed out, at that remarkably dark time, your faith sustained you then. It sustains you now, and you are quite the special guest to have on our program today. Sir, we salute you and we thank you very much.
Well, thank you so kindly. It's an honor to be on your program.
The honor was all here. I can assure you of that,
Thank you so
sir.
much for joining us.
Edgar Harrell, we thank you very much. You heard Edgar Harrell talk about his exploits. We'll talk more about Memorial Day coming up.